All right. Welcome in, everyone, to another deep dive.
Yeah, great to be here.
Today, we're going to be talking about managing self-employment taxes.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
It is a big one, and it's something that, if you're new to self-employment or you're thinking about becoming self-employed,
Right.
it can be kind of a daunting thing.
Yeah, it can be a little scary.
So we're going to break it down today
Yeah, make it easy.
and try to make it as painless as possible for you.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, one of the first things that I always think about when I think about self-employment taxes is just getting organized.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The foundation
That's
key.
like, how important is that?
It is critically important because, without that good organization, it can quickly become overwhelming and stressful.
Yeah.
So having a system in place to keep track of everything is really essential.
So, like, when you say system, what kind of things are we talking about?
Well, one of the first things I always recommend is separating your finances. Having a separate checking account dedicated solely to your self-employment income.
And that doesn't necessarily need to be like a business checking account.
Not necessarily, especially if you're just starting out or you're, receiving checks in your own name.
Right.
A simple, separate personal checking account will work just fine.
Just so you can see clearly what's coming in.
Exactly. It makes it so much easier to track your income and expenses.
Okay.
When it comes to tax time.
Right.
Because everything is nicely compartmentalized.
Yeah, because you don't want to be, sifting through all your personal...
Exactly. Trying to figure...
what was for your business and what wasn't.
Was this lunch for a client or was it...
Right, exactly.
...with my family?
Yeah, so that's a huge first step.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then what...
All right, so once you have your finances separated, the next crucial step is creating what's called a profit and loss statement, often referred to as a P&L.
A P&L, yeah.
And this is essentially a document that summarizes your income and expenses over a given period.
Okay, and this sounds complicated, but it doesn't have to be right.
Not at all. It can be as simple as a spreadsheet.
Okay.
Using Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets.
Right.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
So you can just list out like...
Exactly. List out your revenue at the top.
Okay.
And then all your business-related expenses underneath.
Okay. So, and what kind of things, like what are some examples of business expenses?
Oh, well, things like software subscriptions.
Okay.
Marketing costs, office supplies, if you have a home office. A portion of your rent or mortgage can be deductible.
Interesting.
There's a whole range of potential expenses that could be applicable.
Okay. And so by tracking all this, you can kind of see like how your business is doing.
Exactly. It gives you a really clear picture of your financial health.
Gotcha.
Are you making a profit? Are you losing money?
Yeah. Are you spending more than you're bringing in?
Exactly. And it also helps you identify areas where you might be able to cut costs.
Oh, okay. Smart.
Or, maybe increase your pricing. So it's a really valuable tool for managing your business overall.
Okay. So we've talked about getting organized, separating our finances, creating this P&L.
Right.
What else is kind of like essential when we're talking about self-employment taxes?
Well, one of the things that often trips people up is understanding which expenses are actually tax deductible.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because not every business expense is created equal.
Right. So you can't just like write off your Netflix subscription.
Exactly. There are specific rules and regulations, and it's really important to do your research.
So how do you suggest people go about doing that research?
Well, there are a lot of great resources available online.
Right.
The IRS website has a wealth of information.
Oh, right. The IRS.
Yes. And there are also many reputable tax professionals like Tax Service LLC who can provide guidance and advice.
Right. So you can kind of get some help if you're not sure.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's always a good idea to consult with a professional.
Especially if your situation is complicated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
So we've got our P&L. We're figuring out what we can deduct.
Right.
But then we've actually got to like pay these taxes, right?
Yeah, right. We can't forget about that part.
So how does that work with self-employment?
So unlike with a traditional W-2 job where taxes are automatically withheld from your paycheck,
Right.
as a self-employed individual, you're responsible for paying your own taxes.
Okay.
And this is typically done through what are called estimated tax payments.
Estimated tax payments.
Yes.
And how often do those have to be made?
Usually quarterly.
Quarterly, so 4 times a year.
That's right.
Okay. And I'm assuming there are deadlines for these things.
Oh, absolutely. There are very specific deadlines.
So what happens if you miss a deadline?
Well, unfortunately, you can be subject to penalties and interest charges.
Okay, so it's not something you want to mess around with.
Definitely not. It's important to stay on top of those deadlines.
Yeah, so is there any way to kind of like make this whole process easier?
Yeah.
with the estimated taxes and everything?
Well, one of the best things you can do is set up a system for tracking those deadlines.
Okay.
Whether it's using a calendar or a reminder app on your phone,
Right.
just something to make sure you don't miss those important dates.
So basically, we just have to be really proactive.
Exactly. Being proactive is key.
Okay.
And the more organized you are,
Yeah.
the less stressful this whole process will be.
Right, because you're not scrambling at the last minute,
Exactly.
trying to figure out what you owe and where to send it.
Right. And that's why, having a system in place,
Yeah.
like we talked about earlier, is so important.
Right. And I guess even if you're not like super organized by nature,
Right.
you can still set up these systems that will help you stay organized.
Absolutely. There are tons of tools and resources available to help you do that.
Okay, so like what are some examples of those tools?
Well, there are accounting software programs. There are apps specifically designed for tracking mileage.
Oh, interesting.
There are even virtual assistants who can help you with bookkeeping and administrative tasks.
Oh, wow. So you can really kind of outsource some of this stuff if you need to.
Exactly. If it's not your strong suit, you can definitely get help.
Okay, so it's all about kind of figuring out what works best for you.
Right. Finding a system that you can stick to.
Right. And that makes sense to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
I have. It's a lot of information.
But I think the main takeaway
Yes.
is that managing self-employment taxes doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Definitely not.
If you're organized and proactive
And informed.
and informed.
Yes.
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 And there are resources available to help you.
Absolutely. You don't have to go it alone.
Right. So for anyone listening who's feeling a little bit intimidated by this whole thing,
Yes.
what would you say to them?
I would say take a deep breath.
Okay.
Break it down into smaller steps. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's great advice.
Thank you.
And I think a great place to start for anyone who's looking for more information is demoretaxservice.com.
Absolutely. You'll find a wealth of resources and support there.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening to Let's Talk Taxes podcast.
See you next time.